Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another lesson. So in this lesson, we're going to take a look at user authorization. We're going to provide some access tokens in the form of a cookie when we're logging in. We're going to create some middleware to protect private routes on our API, and we're going to create a private route to return the current user. So the private route will only allow users who are logged in and authorized to access the route and the data. So we're going to take a look into that today. So if I switch back over to the project, the first thing we're going to do before we even get started is we're going to do a new git commit. It's been a few episodes since I've done one. I'm going to zoom in for you guys. And what we're going to do is we are going to run the command git add. This is inside the terminal. I've already closed off the server. And we're going to do git commit -m. And then our commit message is going to be progress on the auth route. Then we're going to git push origin main. So we're just going to make sure that's pushed to GitHub because we haven't done that for a while. And we need to keep up to date with that. So the next thing we need to do is, I did notice that we had something still quite insecure about our register route. So if we go over to Postman, I have just filled out some of the data with a new email address, a new name field, password, and whatnot. When we send this request, nothing will happen because we haven't yet started the server. We need to do npm run server. And go back to Postman now that it's running, send that request. You'll see that our password field is still being returned when we register for a new user. We don't want to do that. That's just insecure. Even though it's hashed, we just don't want to ever return the password to the end user. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically remove that from the result, from the root. So where we're saving the user here inside of our register, we are going to make a new object where we're going to call it user to return. What we're going to do is we're going to open up a new object and we're going to use the ... saved user _doc. And what this does is it just simply spreads all of the saved user data into a new object. ._doc is the kind of object in the raw data format. It's not got a load of extra stuff that Mongoose adds. And then what we're going to do is we're going to delete user to return .password. So we can't do it. We basically have to create a new variable to do that. And we got a different, we got the same variable names then. We basically need to create a new variable. We can't do it off the saved user because the saved user is a constant. We can't change what's already been kind of saved. We can't change this object essentially. So we have to create a new object, spread the data that is inside that saved user document, and then we need to delete the user to return. And then what we can do, instead of returning the saved user, we can return user to return. If I go to Postman, let's create a new user. Let's go to test4. Send that. You can now see from the response, we no longer have the password coming back. So I'm just going to go back to the database quickly. I'm going to refresh this. And I'm just going to quickly, what have we got? We've got test3, test4. Let's just delete the test3 and 4 accounts just to clean up our database for now, even during the development. So now that's a secure way to return the data to the user after registering. Okay, so I think the next thing we need to do is we need to just start moving on to authorization. So what we need to do is we need to create a new route. So I'm going to copy all of this here. I'm going to paste this here. This is our route description. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating... Have I got the wrong data? No. It's all fine. And what we're going to be doing is creating a new route with a post request API auth /login. And this is going to be login user and return a access token. And this is going to be a public route again because the user isn't logged in when they're hitting the login route. I've typed that. I've got lots of typos in that. So we're going to create that new route. We're going to do router.post. It's going to be to /login. So also going to be an asynchronous function as before. So async, then open up rounded brackets, request response. We're going to open that up and we're going to do our classic try and catch. We're going to console log the error if there is an error on the catch. And then return res.status 500.json and then error just .send even, .send error .message. So if there is an error that we haven't allowed for, it will return a server error and the error message. Okay, so inside this route, what we need to do is we need to take the user input. So that'll be the email they provide and the password. We need to check that a user exists, and then we need to verify the password. And then after verifying the password, we want to return them with a JSON Web Token, and we want to store that as a cookie. So there's quite a few steps to kind of take a look at in this. So what we're going to do is, to begin with, we are going to check for the user. So the user will, in the request, they'll provide a email. So we need to check that there is actually a user attached to the email they provide. So const user equals await user. So we're accessing user with a capital U, so the model.find1. And we're going to use the regular expression from above, this email field here. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to check that there's a user with that email. If there is no user, well, we straight away want to return an error message. We want to return res.status400, so bad request, .json error, and we can return something like no user found with that email. But since it's login, we want to actually return a generic message. We don't want the user to know whether it's a problem with the email or a problem with the password. We want to just kind of tell them that there is an issue. We don't want to specify what was wrong because it could aid them in hacking into someone's account in the real world or something like that. So I'm just going to return there was a problem with the credentials or there was a problem with your login credentials. That's a generic error message there. So if there is a user, so this is if there's no user, we'll return this error. If there is a user, we then need to verify the password they provide. So they're going to provide a password on the request.body. So what we need to do is check that the passwords match. So const password match, we're going to create a new variable, and we're going to await, and we're going to make use of bcrypt, and we're going to make use of their compare function, and we're going to take the request.body password, so the password they provide, and we're going to compare it to the user.password, so the password we have stored on the server. And then we need to do lots of kind of extra stuff in there to check that to basically allow access tokens and whatnot. But for now, just to test this, we're going to return res.json password match, and then return that as password match. So if they do match, it will return true. If it doesn't match, it will return false. So let's give that a test in Postman. So I'm going to make a new tab at the top. I'm going to do a post request. It's going to be to localhost 5000 /API/or/login. I'm going to provide some body data. It's going to be form URL encoded. I'm going to provide an email of test@test.com, and the password for that account is 123456, I believe. So if I then send a request there, we should see that the password match is true. So we know that actually this user is correctly logged in. If I type in the wrong password match false. And if I type in a password that's of incorrect email, you'll see that there was a problem with your login credentials because it can't find that user. That user doesn't exist in the database. So let's go back to our code. We need to say if there is no password match, we want to return this exact error message up here as well, so they don't know if it's a problem with the password or not the password. So let's remove this now as well. So yeah, if no password match, send the same error as above. There is a problem with your login credentials. Right, so now we're going to take a look at JSON Web Tokens. So we need to close off the server, and we need to install npm I, and we're going to install two packages. It's going to be called cookie-parser, which allows us to set cookies and access cookies from our server, and also JSON Web Token, all in one word. So what I'm going to do then is, actually before we do that, we then need to set a secret. So if we go to our env file here, .env, I'm going to make a new variable, a new environment variable called jwt_secret. And basically, this is a secret we use to encode the data we want to store in a JSON Web Token. So this JWT secret can be anything, but it's very important that this JWT token is secret. It's considered a password. You don't want anyone getting access to your JWT secret, because that means they could forge themselves as any user. So I'm literally in practice. You need to be a bit more careful about the secret you're making. But I'm just gonna bash on the keyboard for a bit to make my secure secret, as if that's a secure password. So that'll make more sense soon. I'll show you where we use that secret. But when we go to what we want to do is we want to go to server.js, and we want to make use of the cookie parser we've just installed. So we've installed those already, I believe. I'm just going to run it again just in case I forgot to. And we are going to use const cookie parser equals require cookie dash parser. And underneath where we're using these ones, so this is our existing middleware, we're also going to make use of cookie parser. So cookie parser, as I said before, allows us to set cookies and read cookies in our requests. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an access token for the user as a JWT. From that JWT, we're then going to return. We're going to basically verify that JWT and make sure that it's valid. So let's go back to the auth root. Where are we looking? Auth that. So now that we know that there's a password match, if they've got to this point in the code, it has to be a match. We have to have a password match. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a payload, a const payload, and inside that payload, we're going to attach the user's ID. And that's going to be, so the user ID is taken from the user we get here, and then underscore ID. So that payload we're then going to encode using JWT. So we're going to make a new token, and we're going to do JWT. Oh, we need to first import JWT. So we're going to go const JWT equals require JSON Web Token. So then we're going to go back to our code, const token equals JWT sign. And we're going to pass in the payload. So this is what we want inside of our token. We want the payload inside of our token. process.env.jwt underscore secret. So this is the secret we're going to encode it with. And then we're going to add an expiry date to this. So it expires in, and then we can do inside of quotes 7 days. So this JWT token will be valid for 7 days. So what JWT sign does is basically it encodes this payload, turns it into a JSON Web Token using this JWT secret here. The important thing about tokens is that you shouldn't provide any information you don't want being public. Tokens, you can easily see what's in a token, which we'll show in a minute. The important thing about JWTs is that you know whether they've been messed with. So a token, you can easily read the payload in a token, that anyone can do that. But to verify the token, you need the process.env.jwt secret. So you need a JWT secret to ensure that token hasn't been messed with. That means that basically, if a hacker ever got a token and tried to manipulate that token, tried to maybe change the user ID in it, all we have to do is verify that token against our JWT secret. And if it has been messed with, we would know that token is invalid. So with that token, what we're going to do, we're going to use that to set a cookie. We're going to do res.cookie. And then inside quotes, we're going to do access-token. And our cookie is going to be, the access token cookie is going to take in that is going to be the token. So that's going to set the access token cookie to the value of token. And then we're going to open up an object with a load of options here. So we're going to add an expire. So we're going to add an expiry date, so expires. And then we need to provide a date here. So new date. We're going to do date.now plus 7 times 24 times 60 times 60 times 1,000. So this is a bit convoluted, but basically all this is saying is it expires and it provides a date of 7 days in time, because the expiry date is in milliseconds. it takes a number in milliseconds. It says here in the options, you can see max age in milliseconds converted to expires. So that's basically what we tell it. We can't do it something clever like JWT where it's just 7 days. We have to provide the actual milliseconds. We're going to provide HTTP only as true. And basically what this means is that it can only be accessed by a HTTP server. This means that no one can access an access token in the user's browser. For example, you couldn't go into the console in the browser and try and log it or access it via code. You can only do that via a HTTP server. And then we're going to do secure as an option, and we're going to do process.env.node_env is equal to production. So what this is basically saying is, if we are in production, make sure it is secure is true. If we're not in production, like we're not currently, it's going to be equal to false. So during local debugging, we're not going to use secure tokens, but otherwise it would mean that in production we need to use SSL and secure tokens. So that's basically all we need to do to set a cookie. We then want to return that user. So we're going to do similar to what we did above here. We're going to do const user to return, and we're going to spread the user._doc that we accessed earlier. We're then going to delete user to return .password. We don't want to return that password. Then we're going to do return res.json, and we're going to return the token, which is going to be token. And we are going to return the user, so user to return. Okay, so that should be all the work we actually need to do for the login. So if I go to Postman, and I have a look in, so this is our login route. If we go to cookies, there are no cookies at the moment, but what we're going to do, we know that this is the wrong password at the moment. We're still not running, we're not running the server anymore, so npm run server. I'm going to go to Postman. I'm going to go log in. There was a problem with your credentials. We know that because we got the wrong password. If we type in the correct password, we then get a token back and the user attached to it. And if we go to cookies here, we can see that the access token has been set. Okay, so now that the access token has been set, let's take a look at that token. So this is what I was saying, is just encodes. It doesn't, it's not hidden. The contents of this token is not hidden. So I'm just going to copy the token. I'm going to go to the browser and I'm going to go to jwt.io. And inside this debugger here, you can paste this in, and you can see that the user ID is actually accessible. The data in our payload, you can see is accessible there. So it's not hidden in any way, shape or form. The important thing to note about JWT tokens is the fact that, like we said earlier, if I try to manipulate this and change the payload, when we verify that token later on in our code, which we're going to do in a minute, it would come back as unverified. We could tell that someone had manipulated the contents of this payload, but it's worth noting that this payload is visible by anyone. Okay, so we got our token being set. That's great. But now we need to actually make use of that token. It's useless if we're not checking on using that token. So what we're going to do is we're going to create something called, we're going to create a piece of middleware for our server. So I'm going to make a new folder called middleware. And this new middleware is going to be permissions, a new file called permissions.js. And basically what we're going to do inside this file is we're going to grab the access token from the request. We're then going to verify that token using jwt.verify. We're going to check for a user, and if it's attached to a user, we know they're authorized. So we're going to first import user, const user equals require. We're going to import the user model. We're then going to import JWT, so const JWT equals require JSON Web Token. And then we're going to create our new function. So const requires auth. So we're going to attach this to a route to make sure that the user is authorized for our protected private routes. It's going to be async. It's going to be an async function. We're going to make use of request response and next this time as well. So next we can use in Express to basically continue on the request as opposed to just cutting the requests early. So we need to grab the token from our request when we attach this middleware. So const token equals request.cookies, and it's going to be accessible on the cookies as the access token. And then what we're going to do, we're going to create a variable called isAuth, which is by default false. And what we're going to do is we're going to verify that token. If it can be verified, then we will. If it can be verified, then we'll return true, and then we'll continue on the request. Otherwise, we'll return an error saying unauthorized. So if there is a token, we want to do logic here. If there is no token, we want to straight away return. We want to not do anything. We want to keep isAuth as false, and then after we do this if statement, we're going to do if isAuth return next. So this would be if this auth variable is equal to true, then we're going to continue. Else, we're going to do return res.status 401. 401 status means unauthorized, and we're going to send the word unauthorized. It's not how you spell unauthorized. There you go. Unauthorized. So if there is a token, we need to do the logic here. So we need to we're going to open up a try catch. So if there is a catch, we don't care what the error is. We're just going to return isAuth. We're going to make sure that's false. It's false already, but just to be sure, we're going to make sure that isAuth is set to false. It's just going to continue and send through an unauthorized error. Otherwise, we're going to get the user ID. So we're going to destructure the object, and we're going to do jwt.verify. We're going to verify the token with our JWT secret, which is what we were talking about earlier. If our token had been messed with, we would know because this verify would not work. And the reason we put it in a try catch block, if this does not verify, it will go straight to the catch block. Otherwise, we can grab the user. So we're going to find the user by ID, because we know that in our token we've got the user ID. We're going to pass in that user ID. If there is a user, we're going to do what we did earlier and remove the password. So const user to return equals, and then we're going to expand the user equals user._doc. We're going to delete the password, user to return, user to return .password. And then we're going to set request.user, so it's going to be accessible via the request, user to return. And then we're going to set isAuth equals true. So now what that's going to do is it's going to get to this block, it's going to go to isAuth, and it's going to return next. It's going to continue the request. Otherwise, it's going to return unauthorized. So is there any issues with our code here? Finally expected. I don't know if that's just playing slow. What have we done here? Try. Okay, we've got an extra. Why is our catch block not attached there? What have we done wrong here? So try, catch. We're missing some braces here. If. What have we done wrong here? I'm probably missing something very obvious here. If statement there. We've got multiple. Okay. I know what we're doing here. So we're first trying to verify. If it doesn't verify, then it'll go straight through this catch. We've got a second try block here to grab the user. Sorry, there's a second catch block here, which we have not done anything to catch. So the second catch block is for collecting the user. If we can't collect the user, we need another catch there. So isAuth equals false. So we've just got lots of catches. Because it's an auth route, we're being extremely careful. We're just always saying isAuth to false if we know there's an issue. isAuth true there. I got a typo there in isAuth as well. So this is the middleware here. We need to then export this middleware. So module.exports, and what was our function called? Requires auth. Let's check all of this, double check it, try. So we're going to try and verify the token. If there's an issue, we're going to throw a catch, and it's going to go to isauth. Yeah, we're then going to try and grab, if there's no issues with verifying the token, we're then going to check that there's a user in the database. If there is a user, we are returning the user without the password. We're then attaching the user to the request, and then we are setting isauth to true, which would mean next. Okay, brilliant. That looks good. So we're going to go to the roots. We're going to go to auth.js again. So we've gone back to auth.js. We're now going to make our first private root. So we're going to copy and paste our root descriptions up here. We're going to paste a root description down there. So we are going to make a GET request to API/current. And with this root, what we're going to do is we're going to return the currently authed user. And this is no longer public, this is private. And then we're going to do root.get /current. And in this, we're not going to do an async request. We need to do where we'd normally do request response here and open up a bracket. But before we do that, we need an extra comma. And this time we need to add requires auth function we just created. So this is going to make sure that this is an authorized root. It's making use of the middleware that we created, and it will make sure that the user is authorized. So we need to bring that in. So const requires auth equals require .. /middleware /permission. And I'm going to rename that file from permission to permissions. I believe there was a typo there. Permissions. Oh, and it's asking me to update the imports, which will just add an S there. So what that's now doing is we're now making use of that requires auth middleware. And what we're going to do is we're going to double check it. So if there's no request.user, we're going to return res.status401, but it shouldn't be able to get to this point anyway. We should not be able to get to this point if there's no if we haven't got a user authorized, but it's always best just to put a double catch in there. Otherwise, we're just going to return res.json request.user. So we should have, as we did earlier, we attached the user to the request. So if a user is properly authed, we will just return that user. So let's give that a go. So inside of our cookies here on Postman, I'm just going to delete it for a fresh start. So we've now got no cookies. I'm going to do my post request to login. You see that's all correct. We've got our response back. It's set a cookie, which is brilliant. And then we're going to make a new request. Localhost API/auth /current, and that is a GET request. And we have the access token there. So when I click send on this, we now receive the user, which is brilliant. So we know that's working correctly because we have a correctly authorized user. We're doing the /current, so it's returning the current user. If I was to go to cookies, let's remove that access token and click send. We get an unauthorized message. Let's change the spelling to make it consistent on that unauthorized message there. Let's change that to a Z. I'm doing the English spelling. Let's change it to the global spelling. And then let's send it again. It's unauthorized. And then if I log back in, so if I go back to the login tab, let's log in again. Do a GET request there. You can then see it's now working. So that's brilliant. We've now set up our auth. It's a slightly longer lesson, this one, but authorization is important. We've now set up the auth. It's all working nicely and properly. And now we can use our new middleware, which is the requires auth middleware inside the auth file here. Requires auth middleware. We can use that wherever we need a private and protected root. So to end off this lesson, we need to be better at committing our work. So git add full stops. That's adding all of our new file changes. Git commit -m, and my commit message is going to be added authorization to users. So I'm going to commit all the files, and I'm going to do git push origin main. So I'm pushing to the origin to the main branch. And if I refresh our repo, you can see that there's a push 13 seconds ago, so we're staying up to date with pushing our code now. Okay, so that'll do it for this video. We've now got auth routes, which now means we can move on to the proper bulk of the application. We can start creating to-dos. We can start getting people, start collecting the users' to-dos. We've got the authorization to allow users to post there. So we'll just get into the main bulk of the API after this lesson. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.